A recent settlement could change the way people buy and sell homes in West Michigan. This past Friday, the National Association of Realtors announced it would pay $418 million in damages to resolve several lawsuits filed against them, which claim the industry trade group conspired to boost agent commissions. Under the settlement reached, NAR also agreed to implement a new rule that prohibits offers of broker compensation on its listing site and requires agents that work with a home buyer enter into a written agreement with them. Now, local realtors say those two policies could disrupt the entire process. Fox 17's Marisa Oberly joins us in the studio to explain.
The agents I spoke to believe this will impact those in the market for their first house and low-income buyers the most, but say sellers could be affected too.
Even in an industry used to change,
I think there was a little bit of surprise.
Nicole Rinks says a settlement reached last week by the National Association of Realtors shocked agents across the country.
I think sellers are going to see a value in continuing to offer compensation to the buyer's agent, and buyers are definitely going to continue to want representation.
The broker of Century 21 affiliated in Grand Rapids explains come July, individuals like herself who advertise homes for sale on NAR's multiple listing services site will no longer be allowed to offer any upfront compensation to a buyer's agent.
That doesn't mean that sellers can't compensate a buyer's agent. That just means we can't display it.
Consumer advocates argue the rule change could give sellers and buyers leverage to negotiate lower agent commissions or even persuade some in the market for a house to forego representation, which could then bring down the overall cost of the process. Rinks disagrees.
Buyers are not an expert on the home buying process, so it's a buyer's agent fiduciary responsibility to represent the buyer. That means to protect their best interest, to save them the most money.
If a buyer keeps their agent, she notes they will now need to figure out how to cover their compensation. Currently, sellers pay for those costs and still can under the settlement reached, but Rink says if their house gets multiple offers, for example, they could choose one without such a concession. She thinks it would hurt people in the market for their first house or those with special loans like veterans the most.
They're already bringing their down payment and their closing costs. They're funding the entire transaction.
Rinks hopes sellers decide against that, though.
They're going to be begging those buyers to come again if the market shifts. And I do think sellers will see a value in continuing to pay the buyer's agent, because not only will it hurt the buyers, it will eventually hurt the sellers as well.
Dale Zahn, the CEO of the West Michigan Lakeshore Association of Realtors, echoes her thoughts.
There are changes that are coming down the pike. There are no questions about that.
He encourages everyone involved in the industry to adapt the best they can.
Buyers will buy, sellers will sell. It's just the path to how they get that done that is going to change.
The association continues to deny the allegations made against them. Meanwhile, a federal court still needs to sign off on the proposed settlement. If approved as is, it would go into effect in mid-July. Reporting in the studio, Marisa Oberly, Fox 17 News.